Imagine thinking you have a clear picture of your country's history. Well, just like this photo, that former knowledge becomes extremely blurry for the 46 college students that we take on the annual Civil Rights Pilgrimage each spring break. We visit North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee.
Each year, we all learn about the missing pieces of our history that we aren't taught in school. We learn by going to the places where history was made and by talking to the people who lived that history. Students come with us for different reasons. Some are really excited to learn the content of our trip, and some just need someplace to go and are excited to go someplace that they've never been before.
The students who come with us each year are a global community themselves. We have international students, inner-city students, and students from small towns who have never left Illinois before. For 9 days, we spend 24 hours a day together on a bus, visiting different locations and sites, and sometimes we're just hanging out in the hotel, learning from each other.
One example of learning the history that we were never taught in school is learning about the 9 courageous high school students who integrated Little Rock Central High School. Our students now know that this is Elizabeth Eckford, and they know the story of the pain she endured and why she was surrounded by this mob all by herself.
By going to these historic places, our students are having their hearts touched by the stories of the people who lived this history. They can picture themselves in Elizabeth's shoes because they're standing in the same exact spot that she so bravely stood not too long ago. Our students now know how hard it was for all of the school children who embraced the burden of integrating our country's schools.
During the many hours on the bus, we played a variety of movies highlighting other civil rights struggles to help our students see that what they are learning applies to many different causes. Last year, one of the movies we played was about Harvey Milk, an LGBT activist. One of our students was visibly shocked to see gay people in a movie.
When someone expresses outrage, they don't engage with individuals with differing views. On our trip, our students who identified as LGBT started a dialogue about gay rights right in that moment. And it didn't end there. When we got off the bus for dinner that night, the very same student who was initially upset by the film was now asking to eat with the LGBT students to learn more.
On our trip, we get to meet the people who lived through the civil rights movement. The past 2 years, we've been able to talk with Dr. Bernard Lafayette, who protested to integrate the lunch counters in Nashville, was beaten and arrested during the Freedom Rides, and organized the voting rights movement in Selma, Alabama.
Our students felt so much more connected to this history because they're able to listen to the individuals who actually lived this history. When they would go into museums and see photos or names of individuals like Dr. Lafayette who they had the opportunity to meet, they suddenly feel like they're part of the movement too. Seeing photos of someone they now know with injuries due to their peaceful protests and actions, it stirs up a lot of emotions for our students.
As our students became more informed, they were acutely aware when they entered places where progress had been stalled. The Alabama State Capitol has chosen to celebrate segregationist George Wallace and the founders of the Confederacy and none of the civil rights leaders from their state. For some of our students, this was a harsh reality that racism is still celebrated in some spaces.
This year, our students walked out of this place filled with anger and sadness to a very hopeful march. Just as we were leaving the Capitol, we walked into the celebration of the martyrs who died during the Selma to Montgomery marches. Emotions quickly shifted as our students posed to take photos with individuals they recognized from various museums and locations along the way.
One of the great parts of this trip for us is seeing our students transform. And one of the ways that we're able to see this happen is through the ways they include each other. 2 years ago, we had 2 students who used power wheelchairs on the trip. We had several issues come up that could have kept the trip from being accessible for these students.
The worst case was when the lift on the bus malfunctioned, and we had to wait to get a new bus. But the students took this opportunity this problem as an opportunity to really bond with each other while we waited. Beyond the breakdown of the lift, the students who had just met our students using power wheelchairs on the day that we left were now advocates for them, making sure that they were included in every single way throughout the remainder of the trip.
One of the stops on our trip this past year that had rave reviews was our visit to Tuskegee University. The provost, the chair of the poli-sci department, and the campus historian took an entire afternoon to meet with us. One of the things that they kept saying was that all roads lead back to Tuskegee. We learned about the history of the campus and some of the most famous people who worked there.
The movement truly comes to life for our students, though, when we attend a church service at Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta. Being able to see and feel for themselves firsthand the role that the church has had in working for civil rights truly stirs up a lot of emotions for our students. This visit stirs up feelings of connection for some of our students and curiosity for others.
Being able to be in Dr. King's family's church makes us all feel close to him in a different way than reading his words or seeing him deliver a speech. Our students were able to mingle with the people who knew him best. Some of them were even able to snap a photo with his sister, Christine.
Another aspect of this trip that we absolutely love is when our students know this history so well that they're now telling us what they want to learn about this. This year, this took the form of some of our students coming to us and telling us that civil rights leader Bayard Rustin wasn't highlighted in a lot of museums because he was a gay man. Our students found a documentary about him and asked us if we would purchase it so they could watch on the bus, and we gladly obliged.
Throughout the trip each year, it becomes clear to our students that there is so much more to every story about civil rights than they had ever learned before. One of the players that most of the students come on the trip knowing about is Rosa Parks. But the students quickly learn that the idea that she was a little old lady who was too tired to get up is not the way it happened.
She was a trained strategist, and she knew exactly what she was doing on the night that she was arrested. The Black population of Montgomery protested by not riding the bus for 381 days in support of this. And there were 4 other women that were arrested first, and it's their names that show up on the Supreme Court case that overturned bus segregation.
Going to the places where any type of history was made changes us all. It forces us to look at ourselves and how we choose to participate in the history that we're helping to write for future generations. We take students on this trip each year because we know that these students are the future fighters for progress, and we want them to be well prepared to fight for whatever cause is close to their heart.